Hey everyone, here's what's coming up tonight on Now. We're going to verify how many jobs could potentially be brought to Maine with this new controversial CMP transmission line project.
And a program that's designed to give girls the confidence they need to succeed is growing step by step.
And after a truly heroic effort, some baby raccoons have been saved in Falmouth thanks to a whole lot of people. If you've never seen little baby raccoons, they're pretty darn cute. You want to stay tuned for that. This is News Center Now. And good evening, everybody. I'm Lee Nelson.
And I'm Lindsay Mills. We're glad you're with us. Since the beginning, those behind the controversial CMP transmission line project have made a number of promises to Maine people from how much money the project will generate for the state to the number of jobs it will create.
Flyers sent out by the group in support of the project seem to contradict themselves. So where's the truth here? Samantha York set out to verify.
Those on both sides of the controversial CMP transmission line project are working to get their message out there. But flyers created by New England Clean Energy Connect supporters are raising some eyebrows because one promises the project will bring new jobs to 3,500 Mainers, while another is only promising 1,600. So which one is true? To find out, we reached out to Thorne Dickinson, who is the Vice President of Business Development for CMP's parent company, Avangrid. He says, quote, "The difference between these two numbers is easily understood by anyone familiar with this project and Maine's approval process. One refers to the average number of jobs supported each year over the 6 years of development, and the higher number is the expectation during the peak year of construction." He goes on to say both mailers are accurate. So yes, we can verify that flyers were sent out with two different predictions for the number of jobs generated by the project. But that's because each one represents job growth in different stages of the project. With your Verify, I'm Samantha York, News Center, Maine.
All right, so we're a little clearer on that now.
A little clear. Wishing the skies were a little clearer.
Always.
We just love giving Keith a hard time.
We did all right. You know, it kind of depends. Like, we were in Portland in one of the few zones that was cloudy today. So it was one of those deals where it, depending on your location, got a couple of showers in there now. But let me show you the satellite here, guys. Look at that. I mean, the northern 2/3 almost of the state. It's a big state the way it all lines up. Was nice and sunny today. Now everybody's starting to thicken up in the middle part of the state as that warm front lifts through. Showers along it, but really what we're watching these thunderstorms back here, that's part of the cold front that's going to come through tonight, and that's going to be some heavier rain coming through overnight into early tomorrow morning. Current temperatures, the north wins the day. So this is interesting. Warm front here to the south of the warm front should be warmer. However, it's been so sunny on the north side of the front that we've been in the 70s in Bangor, Millinocket, and it's really just along the front itself that stayed in the low 60s. But if you widen that picture out, you'd see some warm temperatures across southern New England. Hour by hour forecast, we start with some showers tonight, and I think we do get into some downpours around 3, 4 in the morning when Lee is out partying. He's going to have to bring the umbrella for that. What time do bars close in Maine, actually? It's like 1, isn't it?
For me, they never close.
Yeah, yes. You got a special deal. I feel like it's one of the earlier closing times in the country.
12:30 or 1, something like
Yeah,
that, right?
so anyways, by then it'll be raining, and then we'll get this thing out of here by tomorrow morning. Guys, I have good news still for the weekend. If anything, it's just looking better and better.
I love how Keith knows not to ask me that question these days.
Yeah, Mama Mills.
Right. Not for a while, right?
Yeah.
All right, Keith, thanks. Talk to you again in a bit. In the news, searchers in the Himalayas have called off a search tonight for a group of climbers because the weather there is so bad. Friday night, 8 climbers failed to return to their base camp near Nandevi, India's second highest mountain. And the fear is they were killed in an avalanche. This season, more than 20 people have been killed in those mountains, including Kevin Hines, an Irish climber who actually had a home in Maine. 11 of the 20 have died on Mount Everest, of course the world's highest peak. Everest has had bad weather, but it's also been inundated this season with inexperienced climbers and overcrowding.
Former school law enforcement officer Scott Peterson is looking at 96 years in prison if he's convicted of all the charges he faces. Peterson was in court today. He is the former deputy at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. After the massacre there, an investigation concluded Deputy Peterson did nothing to investigate the source of the gunshots and retreated while the shooting played out. In the end, 17 people were killed, another 17 were injured. Peterson faces 11 charges in all.
A doctor in Ohio is facing 25 murder charges. Dr. William Husel, on the left with a blue tie, surrendering to police in Columbus today. He's accused of ordering fatal doses of drugs for critically ill patients at Mount Carmel West Hospital. Authorities say Husel killed at least 25 people at his hospital between February of 2015 and November of last year. Dr. Husel made his first court appearance this afternoon.
So many of you are talking about the Death with Dignity bill, which has made it to the governor's desk. Ginny says it's not even about death with dignity. It's about having the right to not suffer in the most tragic way imaginable while waiting for your body to finally give out. Alyssa adds we are allowed to put down our beloved animals when they are suffering, but our poor elderly and terminally ill and their families have to suffer until the very end.
And Vicky comments, I do not think people understand where this may go in years to come. Human life has lost its meaning, and there is no longer respect for the elderly. And finally, Ryan posts, I disagree with this bill, but if it's what Mainers want, then she should sign it. An Australian report is warning that climate change is an existential risk to civilization by 2050 and can pose permanent, large negative consequences to humanity. This report maps out the worst case scenario for the world in the next 30 years. It predicts that even 2 degrees Celsius of warming would lead to civilization falling to ruin if society does not institute carbon emission reforms in the 2020s and 2030s. Had a lot of people chiming in about this on Facebook, some taking it very seriously, others, though, kind of brushing it off.
The Food and Drug Administration just approving the first drug to treat a certain type of headache. Good news maybe for those who suffer from cluster headaches. Those are recurring intense headaches that can happen several times a day during what doctors call a cluster period, and these can last for weeks. The drug is Emgality. It's manufactured by Eli Lilly and is currently used to treat migraines. If you qualify, you'll get an injection once a month for as long as the cluster lasts. It will be priced the same as migraines on a per milligram basis, which comes out to be about $6,900 a year.
Yeah, wow, if you need it for a whole year, that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money to pay up, but I guess it's worth it for pain relief.
Right, yes. I have migraines sometimes, and they just are terrible.
Unimaginable.
All right, we're going to take a break. Coming up, which age group do you think has the most credit cards in their wallets and purses? We'll answer that question, learn more about the way you see ads on Instagram, too.
Interesting. And how more than 1,000 girls across the state are lacing up their running shoes and using that to fight bullying.
All right, so we're back with a question. What age group do you think has the most credit cards?
It's older millennials. A new report by creditcards.com says people 30 to 38 years old carry the most plastic in their wallet or metal. Some are made of metal now.
Right.
They're heavy. The report goes on to say this age group is particularly interested in travel cards with lucrative sign-up bonuses and perks. Interestingly, younger millennials have the fewest credit cards, and that stat is leading to many consumers in their 20s having trouble qualifying for their first credit card because they lack sufficient credit history.
You may soon see more sponsored advertisements on Instagram from influencers on Instagram. Instagram just announcing this change. It would allow brands to promote influencer content in people's feeds even if they don't follow that account.
Oh boy.
According to Ad Age, the company has been testing these ads since last year. The ads will look similar to those already found in your feed and stories, but will be labeled paid partnership. Instagram says the move is in response to companies' desires to better target users and offer a more organic ad experience.
If these are curated to fit my interests, I'm in trouble.
Because you have a wide range of interest, or
yeah, well, I'm guilty of finding something that I like and then buying it from Instagram.
Yeah, okay, there you go. You will see
Guess they're
more of
going
those
after
things.
people like
Yeah,
me.
yes.
Usually when you have food delivered to your home, it's because you're craving something and you want it fast. So here's a look at the most popular Uber Eats delivery requests in the country. Number 1, no onions. Number 2, extra sauce. Number 3, no tomatoes. The rankings for Maine are just a bit different, of course. 1, extra sauce. 2, no onions. 3, no tomatoes. Same thing, just different order.
No onions? Come on, people. And if you're craving more Stanley Cup coverage, News Center Maine is here for you, of course. Jess Gagne and Hannah Deneen are headed back to Boston for Game 5 tomorrow. Bruins and Blues, of course, tied at 2 games apiece in the series. So stay tuned during the evening shows tomorrow for stories from the TD Garden and updates throughout the day on our website and mobile app as well. All right, quick break. Coming up, how the power of social media saved 2 baby raccoons.
Interesting. And Keith is back with a full look at the forecast. The drama. Come on, you want to laugh.
More than 1,000 girls all across the state are training for a 5K. All the while they're bonding and learning how to fight bullying too.
News Center's Hannah Deneen introduces us to the Girls on the Run.
Girls on the Run is a national program. Its mission is to inspire girls to be happy, healthy, and confident. And it does that through a program which incorporates running. I met up with a team of girls at Weatherby Elementary School in Hamden, went for a run and a listen.
It's a nice environment for girls to run.
Usually everyone's really happy and they're always cheering each other on.
With bouncing strides or steady steps, round and around the field, the girls of Weatherby Elementary School go.
No one's really racing.
With every lap, the life lessons they learned earlier in the afternoon while circled up in a quiet classroom sink in.
You learn new things like not to gossip and how to stand up to bullies and be nice to your friends.
How to be a good friend and how to take care of yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally. And that is the real message of Girls on the Run.
Trisha Richardson brought the Girls on the Run program to Weatherby 5 years ago. This elementary school teacher is intensely passionate about her work.
I just can't say enough about the importance of this program for young girls, to give them the confidence and the tools that they need to navigate through their middle school and high school years and throughout their entire life.
While elementary school bullying today sounds a lot like bullying of days past.
Like, your clothes are terrible, they're babyish.
These girls are equipped with knowledge and a positive outlook many of us probably wish we had in our school days.
It's helped me with some problems with friendships and other people's friendship because they come to me for advice.
Bullies couldn't squash this energy if they tried.
Go bananas! Go, go bananas! Go bananas! Go, go bananas! Yay!
The Girls on the Run program has grown so much in just the past few years that for the first time this year, it's expanded its 5K races to 2 different locations. Last Sunday, the first race took place in Standish, Maine, and this Sunday, the second race will take place at Husson College in Bangor. And that's where the girls of Weatherby Elementary School will be racing. And as I'm sure you can tell, they're more than ready and very excited. For News Center Maine, I'm Hannah Deneen.
What a wonderful program.
Awesome, and it's going to be a good weekend for a run.
Yes.
Maybe a little warm on Sunday.
A little
right, Keith?
toasty, maybe
What do
some
you think,
extra
Keith?
I think
Gatorade.
we had a story first, but we can.
Oh, do we?
That's okay. We can.
Oh,
can
we
not
do
do
have a
this?
story
Maybe
first.
we do have a story.
Maybe we do have a
Let's
story.
do
I'm
it.
not sure.
Well, you're just bugging out over this one. This one involves ladybugs. I missed this too. People are bugging out over a swarm of insects that are hovering and covering parts of California. This is the cloud of ladybugs showing up on the National Weather Service's radar in San Diego.
Ladybugs. Holy cow.
Is this real, Keith?
Yeah,
Can you
this
verify
happens.
this?
This happens. Bats you'll pick up. You can pick up swarms of insects if they're big enough, or there's enough of them, I should
That
say.
is so interesting.
And they call it a bloom, I guess,
Pretty
a
cool.
ladybug
A
bloom.
I mean,
Bloom.
they're good little
yeah,
bugs.
they're the least offensive insect.
Right.
I
The
think.
bats are kind of weird. You can see the bats in southern Texas. It's kind of like, it happens almost nightly. They get picked up on.
At least ladybugs are good luck.
Yeah. Are they?
I don't know,
Right?
8 million of them on your
I
window
bet
might not
I
be
was
good
gonna
luck.
say,
But
enough of anything could freak you out.
Right.
I bet if you ended up in a swarm of ladybugs, you'd be like, whoa!
I
Probably
know.
so.
I actually wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Yeah, that's cool though. Weather story, I like it. Isaac, looking out. All right, here's a look at the radar, and all we're looking at here is actual rain. Shouldn't be any swarms of insects here. A couple of showers are on their way to Bangor and then off to the west as well. But today was really not even a split state forecast necessarily. There was a relatively small part of the state that was cloudy today. Most of us were nice and sunny, especially over central and northern Maine. And now everybody's going to get in on this front as it moves through tonight, and we end up with some showers and thunderstorms. Warm front here, cold front driving towards us. That's actually the front that's going to give us the rain tonight more consistently, especially along the coastline, and a couple of thunderstorms involved in that. Current temperatures, find the front right here. To the south of it is 70s and 80s. To the north of it, 60s in Portland. But notice that where it was sunny, we did pretty well. Bangor at 72, 67 in Caribou, but that ocean influence killing Bar Harbor at 59 degrees. Hour by hour forecast, couple of showers early tonight. I think most of the heavier stuff occurs after the vast majority of us are sleeping. So it's 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And then if you wake up, you might catch some of this. Here tomorrow morning, heavy downpours, again, rumble of thunder a possibility. It starts off pretty nasty on Thursday, but the day turns around quickly. So by the afternoon, I think it's pretty nice. In fact, it may be relatively warm, especially along the coast here in the mid-70s in Portland, Wiscasset, Brunswick, and into Freiburg and Lewiston. So it totally changes from the beginning of the day to the middle of the day. And then Friday looks good. Might deal with a couple of showers over northern Maine, but most of the day is sunny and temperatures in the upper 60s and low 70s. So we launch into that pattern of weather we've been talking about for a few days, which will give us nice weather Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Again, not perfect. Couple of showers in the mountains on Friday, but most of us are dry from Thursday midday until probably Monday night, Tuesday. So we'll have a good stretch in there. And it'll get warm in between. Sunday's looking good, mid-70s, some 80s. And some of the models are popping mid-80s more consistently. So that will be something to watch as we get closer to the weekend. But it looks good. Monday, clouds increase, but it may be the warmest day with 80s in a lot of spots there as well. Thunderstorms come in on Tuesday. So again, a lot of us, the last rain we'll see will be Thursday midday, and then it won't happen again until Monday night. So
nice
little stretch there.
Good little stretch.
Yeah.
Finally.
Are you a fan of hazelnut spread?
I love that you called it that. Yes.
What is that?
All right, I'm going to tell you right now because the owner, the company owner, Ferrero, and the unions involved say workers at the world's largest Nutella factory have removed picket lines and are back to work after production was brought to a standstill in a dispute over the salaries that the workers got. Ferrero said today that access to the factory was reopened overnight and that normal activity had finally resumed. Activists from the workers' force at the factory had barred trucks from entering or leaving that factory for a whole week. Now, this plant produces 600,000 jars of this chocolate and hazelnut spread every day. That's a quarter of the world's output. And yes, we confirmed it is pronounced Nutella, not Nutella. So I've been saying it wrong all these years.
I've been saying it wrong as well, but enjoying it all the way. It's so good. Okay, this is so good too. You got to see this. A baby raccoon, likely saved through a heroic effort in which a Facebook community's call for help successfully attracted the attention of local wildlife rehabbers who then jumped into action. Cindy Halter is a dog walker and pet sitter. After returning from the dog park with a pup, she spotted a helpless baby raccoon curled up on the pavement of a driveway near the Falmouth-Portland border. The photo was then shared to Facebook, a Facebook group called Maine Wildlife, where Little Rascals saw the post and took the raccoon and another baby in. The names are Luke and Leia, and they appear to be doing a lot better now. This is so funny because for those of you who've seen me post the obnoxious pictures I have done of Tito on social media, Tito looks like a raccoon. And Clay and I have this thing where whenever we see animals that look like Tito, we ask them, do you know Tito? So I'd love to ask those guys if they know him.
Super cute.
Yeah.
Probably don't know him though.
No.
All right, Cindy is here to tell us what's coming up in the next half hour.
You guys remember that road in Glenburn that was so muddy they could not even drive down it? All those people lived on that road. They couldn't get to their houses. Well, guess what? They can now. It is a temporary fix, though, so we'll check it out when we come back at 5:30. Also, Pats Camp is underway for all you football fans out there. Nobody can get enough of that. But also, former Patriots offensive tackle Matt Light came to Maine today, and we got to catch up with him. So we're going to have those stories and more all ahead in the next half hour.
Love Matt Light.
I know, isn't he great?
Love Matt Light.
He's a cool
Awesome.
guy.
Right. We'll see you guys at 5:30. We're back with Raindrops after this.
Did you know a high-stakes weather forecast may have saved D-Day? The list of potential invasion dates was a short one to begin with. The Allies needed not only a full moon to illuminate obstacles and landing spots, but also a low tide corresponding with dawn to expose elaborate underwater defenses. June 5th was originally scheduled Invasion Day, and as is often the case in weather, there was disagreement among forecasters. American meteorologists believed the weather would break in time for June 5th, but British meteorologist Captain James Stagg disagreed, feeling the weather would be too harsh for a landing. He ultimately convinced Allied Supreme Commander Dwight Eisenhower to call it off. June 5th, 1944 came, and pelting rain and gusty wind proved Stagg had made the right forecast. The big waves could compromise the landing craft, and the low deck could negate one of the Allies' biggest advantages, air superiority. But with the window narrowing, could the invasion be a go for June 6th? The Germans thought the answer was no. Nazi meteorologists predicted the unsettled weather would continue until at least mid-June, making an invasion next to impossible. Confident in this call, German Field Marshal Erwin Rommel even returned home to personally present a pair of Parisian shoes to his wife as a birthday present. He wasn't there for the invasion the next day. Captain Stagg made perhaps the highest stakes forecast call in history. There will be a one-day break in the stormy weather. Operation Overlord will take place June 6th. He was right. Although conditions weren't perfect, with some low clouds lingering, the winds had settled enough for a successful invasion, and the tide of World War II began to turn. Weeks later, the backup date for the invasion arrived, and a large storm created some of the worst weather conditions seen on the English Channel in 2 decades. Eisenhower reflected on this on a memo to Captain Stagg. Quote, "I thank the gods of war. We went when we did." The gods of war, perhaps, and a good meteorologist with nerves of steel. I thought that was interesting. I kind of knew about this before, but I had to brush up on some of the details. Particularly pointed that the delayed date was such a huge storm, and so it's conceivable if he was wrong about this call, it could have been delayed over a month. And of course, surprise was a really big part of the Allied plan. Without that, they had estimated 75,000 casualties. They ended up with 12,000, which is still a lot, but it had a lot to do with the Germans not realizing where that landing was going to be. So I thought that was...
the history could have been a whole lot different.
Yeah, and he was bucking the American meteorologists, and he had to call it. By the way, one final note, the reason he was right and the American meteorologists were wrong, they had a division of airplanes that was flying this route out over the Atlantic to get observations for him and his team, and the Americans did not have that. At that time, there are no computer models, right? So what they're forecasting is literally what happened west of us and what's going to happen in a couple of days to the east. But big call. I like to make tough calls, but not like that.
That's a lot of pressure, that one, for sure. Very cool. Thanks, Keith. News Center Maine at 5:30 starts right now.